The Killer is David Fincher's new movie. It has just dropped on Netflix. It had a limited cinema release, so if you were one to see it before it dropped on Netflix, that's just as good, because I do believe this is the type of movie that deserves to be seen in a cinema rather than either on a TV screen or a laptop. This movie has been very highly anticipated for me. I have loved the concept of it, and all of the rumors about what the type of movie it was going to be like had me really excited to see. However, I will say some of those rumors or quote-unquote reports didn't seem to ring entirely true, but I'll get to that when I get to it. As far as the plot goes for this movie, it essentially boils down to Michael Fassbender playing a hitman who is an absolute perfectionist until he makes a mistake during a job, and he has to resolve with the consequences that come from that. And from what is an initial slow burn into a type of character study of a hitman turns into a really interesting revenge story. Michael Fassbender is really great in this movie. A lot of it hinges on his narration, which I thought was just gonna stay for the beginning of the movie, but it basically is throughout the entire thing, which I don't know too many movies that have kept that through its entire runtime. A lot of the movie is just his internal monologue, which is pretty interesting to see. Now, granted, it's partially due to Fincher's style, as he is no stranger to having internal monologue and narration in his movies, but I think it's upped to the max here, and it really works. The cinematography in this movie is really great. There's lots of really beautiful shots in the film. It has Fincher's iconic green and blue gradient over the whole movie. The soundtrack for this movie is really good too. I do wonder how much the rights to getting all of them to feature in the movie was, because it is basically chock full of songs by the band The Smiths. There's some other songs in there too, but it is mainly that. It is the Killer's go-to song choice for a lot of things in this movie. I'm sure a lot of the so-called Sigma males that will seek this movie out will say, oh my god, Michael Fassbender in this movie, he is literally me. As for what I thought I was getting in this movie, I had heard reports that it was apparently going to be Fincher's most violent movie to date, and that's not entirely true. While yes, it switches its tone from character study to a revenge story, it is at its core such a slow burn of a thriller, and it's really weirdly structured, but I like it for that reason. And when the violence does come into the movie, it is really great, and it is really hard hitting to watch, but it's not as incredibly gory as people were making it out to be. If anything, probably Fincher's still his most violent and fucked up movie has still got to be Seven. I don't think anything in terms of its gore and its violence has really peaked with that. There's a fight scene near the kind of middle portion of this movie where Michael Fassbender is facing off against this really muscular dude, and it's choreographed so incredibly well. You can feel the impact of every punch that's in the scene. So many walls are just getting absolutely blasted. Every time the two of them strike each other, it always looks like it hurts. It's honestly, for me, probably the best scene in the movie. I was just so impressed by how well they were able to choreograph the whole thing and make it run so smoothly. I was never bored watching the movie despite its slow burn angle. I think my only grievance is that there is a slight abundance of product placement, and I know there has been that in a lot of Fincher's other movies, but sometimes there is usually a point to it. For example, in Fight Club, that movie is full of product placement, but it's in the movie solely to mock the very use and the idea of product placement. Here, we just see Michael Fassbender eating a fucking McDonald's breakfast without any real context other than bronies as breakfast. That's it. But I can't exactly knock the movie down for that reason. I feel like that would be a little bit unfair, because nearly every movie you watch, most of the time, majority of the time, it's gonna have product placement, and there's nothing really we can do about it. Overall, this was a really thrilling movie. I feel like some people may complain that it's slow, but if you are into a kind of slow burn angle and you like to see a lot of events unfold, then I think this movie will be for you. I'm giving The Killer 4.5 stars. A very philosophical, foreboding movie that, despite how much you may think it drones on, will keep you on the edge of your seat from start to finish.